Hello, everyone, and welcome to Daily Dose of English. I'm Tom, and I'm here to help you finally break through the speaking barrier. Today, we're going to solve one of the biggest mysteries in language learning. Why can you understand English perfectly when you listen? But when it's time to speak, your mind goes completely blank. In this episode, I'll explain exactly why this happens and give you practical solutions that actually work. We'll practice together using shadowing techniques, and by the end, you'll have a clear path to speaking more fluently. I'll speak slowly and clearly throughout, so you can follow along and practice with me. Let's start with a simple truth that might surprise you. Understanding English and speaking English use completely different parts of your brain. When you listen, you're recognizing patterns. When you speak, you're creating patterns. That's a huge difference. Think about it like this. You can recognize your friend's face instantly, but can you draw their face from memory? Probably not. Speaking is like drawing. It requires active creation, not just recognition. Many students tell me, Tom, I watch movies without subtitles. I understand podcasts perfectly, but when someone asks me a question, I freeze. Does this sound familiar? You're not alone. Millions of learners face this exact problem. The good news is, once you understand why it happens, you can fix it. Here's what's really going on in your brain. When you listen to English, your brain is in receiving mode. It's passive. You hear sounds, match them to meanings you've learned, and understand the message. But when you speak, your brain must do 5 things simultaneously. First, choose the right words. Second, arrange them in correct order. Third, apply grammar rules. Fourth, produce the right sounds. And fifth, do all of this in real time while someone is waiting for your answer. That's incredibly complex. Now let me teach you a powerful technique to bridge this gap. It's called the mirror method. When you listen to English, don't just understand it. Mirror it. Repeat what you hear immediately. Copy the rhythm, the tone, everything. Let's practice this right now. I wake up early every morning. Now you repeat. Coffee helps me start my day. Now you repeat. Learning English takes patience and practice. Now you repeat. This simple exercise trains your brain to quickly convert input into output. The more you do it, the faster this process becomes. Eventually, producing English will feel as natural as understanding it. Let's talk about fear. Fear of making mistakes is probably holding you back more than anything else. I see this constantly. Students who know thousands of words but won't speak because they might make an error. Here's the truth. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. We say me and John instead of John and I. We forget words mid-sentence. We restart our thoughts. And nobody cares. Communication isn't about perfection. It's about connection. Think about how children learn to speak. They don't wait until they know perfect grammar. They just start talking. They say things like, I go to the store, or I don't want no vegetables. Are these grammatically correct? Number. Do people understand them? Absolutely. And through practice and correction, they improve naturally. You need to adopt this childlike approach. Speak first, perfect later. Every time you stay silent to avoid a mistake, you miss an opportunity to improve. Mistakes aren't failures, they're data. They show you exactly what to work on next. Let me share a story about Maria, one of my students. She studied English for 10 years. She could read academic papers. She understood complex lectures. But she couldn't order coffee in English without rehearsing first. We worked together for 3 months using the techniques I'm teaching you today. Now she gives presentations at international conferences. What changed? She stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to communicate. Now let's practice some essential daily phrases. These are chunks you'll use constantly in real conversations. Remember to repeat after me with confidence. Could you help me with something? Now you repeat. I'm not sure I understand. Now you repeat. Let me think about that for a second. Now you repeat. That's interesting. Tell me more. Now you repeat. I see what you mean. Now you repeat. These phrases buy you time in conversations. While you say them, your brain can prepare what comes next. Native speakers use these constantly. You should too. Let's address another major issue. Translation. If you're translating from your native language to English in your head, you'll always be slow. You need to think directly in English. This sounds impossible, but it's not. You already do this with simple phrases. When someone says hello, you don't translate. You just respond, hi. We need to expand this ability. Start with self-talk. Describe your actions in English as you do them. When you wake up, think, I'm getting out of bed. When you make breakfast, think, I'm making eggs. When you check your phone, think, I have 3 new messages. This builds direct English thinking patterns. Let's practice this mental commentary together. I'll describe actions and you repeat to build this habit. I'm opening the window to get fresh air. Now you repeat. I need to check my calendar for today. Now you repeat. I should probably drink more water. Now you repeat. The weather looks nice outside. Now you repeat. I wonder what time the meeting starts. Now you repeat. This inner dialogue in English rewires your brain. Instead of thinking in your language then translating, you think directly in English. It's like building a new highway in your mind. The more you use it, the faster and smoother it becomes. Now let's talk about vocabulary. Many learners memorize thousands of isolated words, but can't use them in conversation. That's because real English doesn't work word by word. It works in chunks, phrases, and patterns. When native speakers talk, we don't construct sentences from individual words. We use pre-made phrases we've heard thousands of times. For example, we don't think, I plus am plus going plus to plus the plus store. We think I'm going to go to the store as one unit. This is why you need to learn phrases, not just words. Let's practice some essential chunks that native speakers use constantly. I've been thinking about that. Now you repeat. It's been a while since we talked. Now you repeat. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Now you repeat. Something came up and I can't make it. Now you repeat. Thanks for letting me know. Now you repeat. Notice how these feel like complete thoughts? That's because they are. Native speakers have thousands of these ready-made phrases. You need to build your collection too. Let's discuss listening strategies that directly improve speaking. Passive listening, like having English on in the background, helps with comprehension. But it doesn't help much with speaking. You need active listening. This means fully engaging with what you hear. Pause videos and repeat sentences. Predict what someone will say next. Imagine how you would respond. When you watch English content, don't just consume it, interact with it. If someone in a video asks a question, pause and answer out loud. If they express an opinion, state whether you agree or disagree and why. This transforms passive input into active practice. Let's do this together. I'll say something and you respond naturally. Don't overthink it. Just react. The traffic was terrible this morning. Now you respond, I can't believe how expensive everything is getting. Now you respond, did you see that new movie everyone's talking about? Now you respond, I'm thinking about learning a new skill. Now you respond, the weather's been strange lately. Now you respond, this conversational practice is crucial. You're training your brain to respond quickly and naturally in English. The more you practice, the more automatic it becomes. Now let's address pronunciation. Many learners avoid speaking because they worry about their accent. Here's the truth. Having an accent is completely normal. The goal isn't to sound like a native speaker. The goal is to be easily understood. Focus on clarity, not perfection. The key elements of clear speech are rhythm, stress, and intonation. English is a stress time language. This means some words are stronger and some are weaker. Let's practice this natural rhythm. I need to go to the store. Now you repeat. She's been there many times before. Now you repeat. What do you think about this? Now you repeat. We should probably leave soon. Now you repeat. Can you help me understand? Now you repeat. Notice how some words pop out while others flow quickly. That's the music of English. When you master this rhythm, your English immediately sounds more natural and is easier to understand. Let's talk about building speaking confidence. Confidence isn't about knowing everything. It's about being comfortable with what you know and skilled at working around what you don't. Native speakers do this constantly. We forget words, use simpler alternatives, and describe things when we can't remember the exact term. For instance, if I forget the word refrigerator, I might say the thing that keeps food cold in the kitchen. This is a valuable skill. Let's practice it. I'll give you a word and you describe it without using the word itself. Airplane. Now describe it. Dentist. Now describe it. Umbrella. Now describe it. Elevator. Now describe it. Wedding. Now describe it. This skill helps you keep conversations flowing, even when you don't know specific vocabulary. It's better to describe something than to stop talking completely. Now let's discuss the power of stories. Humans think in stories, not in grammar rules. When you tell stories, you naturally use past tense sequence events and add details. This makes storytelling perfect speaking practice. Start with simple, personal stories. What you did yesterday, a funny thing that happened, a challenge you faced. Let's build a story together. I'll start, and you continue each part. Yesterday, something interesting happened. Now you add detail. I was walking down the street when. Now you continue. At first, I didn't know what to do, but then, now you continue. In the end, everything worked out because now you continue. I learned that sometimes. Now you complete the lesson. This exercise does multiple things. It practices past tense naturally, helps you organise thoughts sequentially, and builds your ability to add detail spontaneously. These are all crucial speaking skills. Let's explore emotional expression in English. Many learners can state facts but struggle to express feelings naturally. Emotional language makes you sound human and helps build connections. Let's practice expressing different emotions. I'm really excited about this opportunity. Now you repeat. To be honest, I'm a bit nervous. Now you repeat. That's frustrating. I understand how you feel. Now you repeat. I'm so grateful for your help. Now you repeat. Makes me happy to see you succeed. Now you repeat. These emotional expressions make your English sound authentic. People connect with feelings, not just information. Don't be afraid to express yourself. Now let's tackle small talk, the social glue of English conversations. Many learners dismiss small talk as unimportant, but it's actually crucial for building relationships and creating comfortable interactions. Small talk isn't about the information exchanged, it's about establishing connection. Let's practice common small talk patterns that you'll use daily. How's your day going so far? Now you repeat. Did you have a good weekend? Now you repeat. The weather's been crazy lately, hasn't it? Now you repeat. Have you been keeping busy? Now you repeat. It's good to see you again. Now you repeat. These phrases open doors to deeper conversations. Master them, and you'll never struggle to start a conversation again. Let's address a critical point about grammar. Yes, grammar is important, but not in the way you think. Native speakers don't consciously think about grammar rules when speaking. We use grammar patterns we've internalized through repetition. You need to do the same. Instead of memorizing rules, notice patterns. Let's practice some common patterns. If I had known, I would have come earlier. Now you repeat. She's been working here since 2020. Now you repeat. I was just about to call you. Now you repeat. They must have forgotten about the meeting. Now you repeat. I wish I could help, but I can't. Now you repeat. By repeating these patterns, you internalize the grammar naturally. It becomes feel, not rules. This is how children learn and how you should too. Now let's talk about the power of questions. Questions keep conversations alive. Good conversationalists ask more than they tell. Questions show interest, gather information, and give you time to think. Let's practice different question types. What made you decide to do that? Now you repeat. How long have you been interested in this? Now you repeat. What's your take on the situation? Now you repeat. Have you always felt this way? Now you repeat. What would you do if you were me? Now you repeat. These open-ended questions encourage detailed responses and keep conversations flowing naturally. They also take pressure off you to talk constantly. Let's discuss an underrated skill: agreeing and disagreeing politely. In English-speaking cultures, we often soften our disagreements and emphasize our agreements. This maintains harmony while expressing opinions. Let's practice. I see where you're coming from, but now you repeat. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Now you repeat. I partially agree, however. Now you repeat. You might be right about that. Now you repeat. I think we're on the same page here. Now you repeat. These diplomatic phrases let you navigate disagreements without creating conflict. They're essential for professional and social situations. Now let's address speaking anxiety directly. Many learners experience physical symptoms when trying to speak. Racing heart, sweaty palms, blank mind. This is normal. Your body treats speaking a foreign language as a threat. We need to retrain this response. Before speaking, take 3 deep breaths. Remind yourself that making mistakes is safe. Start with low-pressure situations. Talk to yourself, then to patient friends, then to strangers. Gradually increase the challenge as your comfort grows. Let's practice calming phrases you can use when you feel stressed while speaking. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Now you repeat. Give me just a moment to collect my thoughts. Now you repeat. I'm still learning. Thanks for your patience. Now you repeat. Could you say that again? I want to make sure I understand. Now you repeat. Let me try to explain this differently. Now you repeat. These phrases acknowledge difficulty while maintaining conversation flow. They show confidence in your learning process. Let's explore professional English. Many learners need English for work, but feel intimidated by business communication. The secret is that professional English often uses simpler, clearer language than casual English. Let's practice key professional phrases. I'd like to follow up on our previous discussion. Now you repeat. Could we schedule a meeting to discuss this further? Now you repeat. I appreciate your feedback on this matter. Now you repeat. Let me get back to you with that information. Now you repeat. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Now you repeat. These phrases sound professional while being relatively simple. Master these and you'll handle most workplace situations confidently. Now let's discuss a powerful technique called linguistic shadowing. This goes beyond simple repetition. You match not just words but emotion, speed, and intention. Find English speakers you admire and shadow them completely. Copy their energy, their pauses, their emphasis. This technique rewires your brain to produce English naturally. You're not translating or constructing. You're channeling English directly. Do this for 15 minutes daily with different speakers, and your fluency will skyrocket. Let's practice emotional shadowing with different tones. Excited. I can't wait to see what happens next. Now you repeat with excitement. Concerned. I'm worried this might not work out. Now you repeat with concern. Grateful. I really appreciate everything you've done. Now you repeat with gratitude. Curious. I wonder why they decided to do that. Now you repeat with curiosity. Confident. I know we can figure this out together. Now you repeat with confidence. This emotional range makes your English come alive. You're not just speaking words, you're communicating feelings. Let's address a common trap: perfectionism. Many learners won't speak until they can speak perfectly. This creates a vicious cycle. Without practice, you can't improve. Without improvement, you won't practice. Break this cycle by embracing good enough. Communication succeeds when your message is understood, not when it's grammatically perfect. Focus on clarity over correctness. Native speakers will appreciate your effort and help you improve naturally through conversation. Let's practice recovery phrases for when things go wrong. That's not quite what I meant to say. Now you repeat. Let me try to explain that better. Now you repeat. I think there might be a misunderstanding. Now you repeat. Sorry if that wasn't clear. Now you repeat. What I'm trying to say is, now you repeat. These phrases help you recover gracefully from communication breakdowns. They keep conversations positive and productive. Now let's explore the power of context. English words often have multiple meanings depending on context. This flexibility can be confusing but also liberating. You don't need to know every meaning, just the relevant one for your situation. Let's practice recognizing and using contextual meaning. Can you get the door? Meaning open it. Now you repeat. I don't get it. Meaning understand. Now you repeat. Let's get coffee sometime. Meaning meet for. Now you repeat. I need to get going. Meaning leave. Now you repeat. Where did you get that? Meaning obtain by. Now you repeat. This contextual flexibility exists throughout English. Embrace it rather than fearing it. Context usually makes meaning clear. Let's discuss cultural communication patterns. English-speaking cultures often value directness, balanced with politeness. We state our needs clearly, but soften them with polite language. Understanding this balance helps you communicate effectively. Let's practice polite but direct communication. Would it be possible to meet earlier? Now you repeat. I'd prefer if we could find another solution. Now you repeat. Could I suggest a different approach? Now you repeat. I think there might be a better way to handle this. Now you repeat. Would you mind if we postponed until tomorrow? Now you repeat. These phrases are clear about what you want while remaining respectful and professional. They work in almost any situation. Now let's tackle phone and video conversations Many learners find these harder than face-to-face talks because you lose visual cues. The key is over-communicating. Confirm understanding more often, speak slightly slower, and use verbal cues to show you're listening. Let's practice phone conversation skills. Can you hear me clearly? Now you repeat. Sorry, you broke up for a second there. Now you repeat. Let me make sure I understood correctly. Now you repeat. I'm going to put you on speaker. Is that okay? Now you repeat. Thanks for the call. Talk to you soon. Now you repeat. These phrases help navigate technical difficulties and ensure clear communication without visual cues. Let's explore the art of paraphrasing. This skill helps when you don't know exact words or want to confirm understanding. Paraphrasing shows engagement and helps avoid misunderstandings. It's also excellent practice for flexible thinking in English. Let's practice paraphrasing techniques. So what you're saying is, now you repeat. In other words, now you repeat. If I understand correctly, now you repeat. Let me see if I got this right. Now you repeat. To put it another way, now you repeat. These phrases buy thinking time while showing active engagement. They're particularly useful in professional settings. Now let's address the challenge of humour in English. Humour varies greatly between cultures, but understanding basic English humour patterns helps you connect with native speakers. You don't need to be funny, just understand when others are being humorous. Common humour patterns include wordplay, exaggeration, and self-deprecation. Let's practice recognising and responding to humour. That's putting it mildly. Understatement. Now you repeat. Tell me how you really feel. Sarcasm. Now you repeat. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Self-deprecation. Now you repeat. That went well. Not. Irony. Now you repeat. You can say that again. Emphasis. Now you repeat. Understanding these patterns helps you participate in casual conversations more naturally. Let's discuss the importance of fillers. Fillers are words like well, and you know. Many teachers say avoid them, but native speakers use them constantly. They serve important functions, buying thinking time, softening statements, and showing you're still speaking. Let's practice using fillers naturally. Well, I think we should probably wait. Now you repeat. It's, kind of complicated. Now you repeat. I'm not really sure about that. Now you repeat. So, what do you think? Now you repeat. I mean, it could work, I guess. Now you repeat. Used sparingly, fillers make your speech sound more natural and give you processing time. Now let's explore active listening phrases. Good conversation involves showing you're engaged with what others say. These phrases demonstrate attention and encourage speakers to continue. Let's practice active listening responses. That must have been difficult. Now you repeat. How did that make you feel? Now you repeat. What happened next? Now you repeat. I can imagine how frustrated you felt. Now you repeat. That's really interesting. Go on. Now you repeat. These responses keep conversations flowing and show genuine interest in others' experiences. Let's address the challenge of interrupting politely. Sometimes you need to interject in conversations. English has specific phrases that allow interruption without seeming rude. Mastering these helps you participate more actively in group discussions. Sorry to interrupt, but now you repeat. Can I just add something here? Now you repeat. If I could just jump in for a second. Now you repeat. Before we move on, I'd like to mention, now you repeat. Quick question about what you just said. Now you repeat. These phrases signal interruption while showing respect for the current speaker. Now let's practice time-buying techniques. When you need extra seconds to formulate thoughts, these phrases maintain conversation flow without awkward silence. That's a really good question. Let me think. Now you repeat. I've never really thought about it that way. Now you repeat. You know, that's actually quite interesting. Now you repeat. Well, where do I even begin? Now you repeat. Oh, that reminds me of something. Now you repeat. These phrases sound thoughtful while giving your brain time to organize ideas in English. Let's explore clarification requests. Never hesitate to ask for clarification. It shows engagement and ensures accurate understanding. Native speakers do this constantly. It's a sign of good communication, not poor English. Practice these clarification phrases. Could you elaborate on that? Now you repeat. What do you mean by that exactly? Now you repeat. Could you give me an example? Now you repeat. I'm not familiar with that term. Now you repeat. How does that relate to what we discussed earlier? Now you repeat. These phrases help you understand fully while keeping conversations interactive. Now let's discuss the power of personal anecdotes. Sharing relevant personal experiences makes conversations memorable and builds connections. Even simple stories about daily life can enhance your communication significantly. Let's practice introducing personal anecdotes. That reminds me of the time when... Now you repeat. Something similar happened to me last week. Now you repeat. I had an interesting experience with that. Now you repeat. Funny you should mention that because... Now you repeat. I can relate to that. Just yesterday. Now you repeat. These transitions smoothly introduce your experiences into conversations. Let's address the challenge of describing problems clearly. Whether personal or professional, explaining problems effectively gets you help faster. Clear problem description is a valuable life skill in any language. Practice these problem describing structures. I'm having trouble with. Now you repeat. The issue seems to be. Now you repeat. What's happening is. Now you repeat. I've noticed that whenever I try to. Now you repeat. The main challenge is. Now you repeat. These structures help you explain issues clearly and get appropriate assistance. Now let's explore expressing preferences diplomatically. Stating preferences without offending others requires specific language patterns. This skill is crucial for both personal and professional relationships. I'd rather, if that's okay with you. Now you repeat. I tend to prefer, but I'm flexible. Now you repeat. Given the choice, I'd probably. Now you repeat. I'm more comfortable with, if possible. Now you repeat. I have a slight preference for, but either works. Now you repeat. These phrases express your needs while remaining considerate of others. Let's practice closing conversations gracefully. Ending conversations smoothly is as important as starting them. Good closings leave positive impressions and open doors for future interaction. Well, I should probably get going. Now you repeat. It's been really nice talking with you. Now you repeat. I don't want to keep you any longer. Now you repeat. Let's catch up again soon. Now you repeat. Thanks for the chat. Take care. Now you repeat. These phrases end conversations warmly without abruptness. Now let's put everything together. Real conversation combines all these elements fluidly. You'll use openers, questions, statements, clarifications, and closings, all in one interaction. The key is practice until these patterns become automatic. Remember, every native speaker started where you are. We all learned these patterns through repetition and use. You have the advantage of conscious practice. Use it wisely. Your homework is simple but powerful. Choose 3 phrases from today's lesson. Use them in real conversations this week. Don't wait for perfect opportunities. Create them. Start conversations. Ask questions. Express opinions. Each use builds your speaking muscle. Also record yourself speaking for 1 minute daily. Talk about your day, your plans, your thoughts. Listen back weekly. You'll be amazed at your progress. The voice that feels foreign today will sound natural in just weeks of practice. Most importantly, be patient with yourself. Language learning isn't linear. Some days you'll speak fluently. Others you'll struggle with basics. This is normal. Progress happens in waves, not straight lines. Trust the process. Thank you for joining me today on Daily Dose of English. I'm Tom, and I believe in your ability to speak English confidently. You have all the tools. Now use them. Practice daily. Speak bravely and celebrate every small victory. Remember, the only way to speak English well is to speak English now. Not when you're ready. Not when you know more. Now. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep believing in yourself. Your English journey is unique, and every word you speak takes you closer to fluency. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, this is Tom saying goodbye and keep speaking.